Have you ever had a nightmare client? You know the ones. They want everything yesterday, they ask for revision after revision, and they have a nephew that's pretty good with Microsoft Paint that has a couple of ideas about your latest logo design. Ooh, sorry, just having a flashback. Look, we've all been there, but today I'm going to share some of the methods I've discovered that have helped me turn some of my worst clients into some of my best clients. Trust me, if you're tired of the client drama, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this one. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to Artful Ruckus. For those of you that are new here, my name is Tom Munns. I'm an art director with over 15 years of experience, and this channel is all about helping creatives just like you take your craft, careers, and confidence to the next level. Today's video is all about the most challenging part of graphic design. No, we're not talking about typography, we're not talking about color theory, we're not talking about the grid, we're talking about the scariest thing of all, working with clients.
A world mastered by a monstrous mutation, the spawn of nuclear fury.
We all dream of having clients that trust us, that respect our time, that understand the creative process, but the reality is that most clients aren't gonna come to us in this angelic state. So I guess what I'm saying is it's gonna take some work. The good news is that as creatives, we have all the tools we need to turn nightmare clients into great clients. Let's get started by looking at exactly what I mean when I'm talking about good clients versus bad clients. In my mind, the definition of a good client is simple. A good client is someone that has a base level understanding of the creative process, values what we do as designers, has realistic expectations, and trusts us to do great work and solve their problem. On the other hand, I would define a bad client as someone that doesn't understand the creative process, has unrealistic expectations, doesn't trust us and micromanages the project, doesn't properly communicate what they want, asks for never-ending revisions, and doesn't view design as valuable. Did I miss anything? Okay, let's go through these issues one by one and develop a strategic creative process that helps us turn bad clients into great clients.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep!
So the first method we need to use to turn our clients into great clients is to treat them as creative partners. One of the most common complaints I see about bad clients is that they don't understand the creative process. Sometimes designers just assume that clients already understand the creative process, but that's usually not the case. Think about it, if they were already design gurus, why would they need to hire us, right? What I see a lot of designers get wrong here is that they don't address that knowledge gap up front and they just jump straight into doing design work. When this happens, the client doesn't feel like a creative partner, they haven't been included at each step so they don't know what's going on, and they're probably gonna start micromanaging to try to take some of that power back. For example, let's say you just pitched a logo to a client and they loved it, they approved it, and now you need a couple of days to put it on the grid, make it responsive, make sure everything is fully locked in. At this stage, if you don't communicate to the client why you need an extra couple of days and why it's valuable to do those things, they're just gonna think that you're wasting their time. I mean, they already approved the logo, why do you need a couple extra days? What's the holdup? So to avoid this, we need to share the creative process at a high level, involve them at each step instead of surprising them with work at the very end, and keeping the lines of communication open and transparent. Treating them this way not only makes them feel respected and a part of the process, but it also gives them some skin in the game. I mean, think about it. Who's more likely to push back when you're sending over a logo design? Someone that's felt like a creative partner since step one, or someone that hasn't heard from you since they sent you that initial brief? Unlike Aunt Sue, in business, no one likes surprises.
Sue, what's wrong?
Sue likes surprise parties.
I really love surprise parties. I'm so freaking excited.
Okay, now that we know the problem, here's some good ways to get your client up to speed and involved creatively. Share your process step by step up front. Tell them why you're doing what you're doing. Explain how each part of the creative process aligns with their goals. And relate your decisions back to tangible business results whenever possible. The next thing we need to do to turn bad clients into great clients is to set clear expectations from the start and get their buy-in before we do any design work. When you skip this step, that's when you start seeing clients that want unlimited revisions, they want immediate turnaround time, and they're generally just not very happy with the process. It's natural that clients would want more faster if they don't have a clear understanding of how long things take or the work that goes into each step. It would be like if you ordered something from an online shop that you are really excited to get, but they never told you how long it would take to arrive. In your mind, it would take a couple days to arrive, but after a week you hadn't heard anything, so you sent them a nasty email, only to find out that they had shipped it on time and it was going to arrive the very next day.
You really are the most devious bastard in New York City.
Had the shop just told you that shipping took 8 to 10 days up front, you would have had clear expectations and you probably wouldn't have sent that nasty email. So how do we set clear expectations with our clients and get their buy-in? Here's a few steps. Step 1 is to share a strict timeline for the entire project up front. Make sure to outline project phases, key delivery dates, and feedback turnaround time. Step 2 is to outline what happens in unforeseen circumstances. So what happens if a client misses their feedback turnaround time or they want revisions that are out of scope. Think through all the most common issues that could come up and worst case scenarios, and outline how each of them will be handled in writing. Step 3 is to define exactly what success looks like. What are the KPIs? What are the deliverables? What's the end goal of the project? And finally, step 4 is to take everything we just talked about and put it into a written contract that's signed by both parties before you begin doing any design work. This way, if any issues come up during the project, you have a written document you can go back to and clear up any misunderstandings. The next method to turn your clients into great clients is to diagnose the real problem before you prescribe a solution. Something else I see a lot of designers doing is just jumping straight into the work before they have a full understanding of the problem they're actually supposed to be solving. And obviously the creative work is why most of us are in the industry, right? That's what we love doing. So it's easy to get carried away and just jump into Illustrator and start designing, but this is yet another mistake that can turn a potentially good client into a nightmare client. As Ellen Lupton famously said, think more, design less. Look, as designers, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it works. Here are some steps you can take to uncover the real problem before you start prescribing solutions. Step 1 is to think in business terms. What business solution is this design project solving? For example, a client might come to you and ask for a new logo, saying that they just want their logo to look better. But as a designer, it's your responsibility to dig deeper. Why do they want their logo to look better? Are their sales down? Does it not reproduce well at small sizes on their social platforms? Are they losing market share to a competitor? These are the questions that you need to ask and uncover the answer to. Step number 2 is to ask why. A method I like to use is called the 5 whys. It was coined by Taiichi Ohno, who's considered the father of Toyota's production system. The 5 whys method is pretty straightforward. It basically just says to get to the root of a problem, you need to ask why 5 times. For example, in this case with a client, it might look something like this. Why do you need a new logo design? To make it look better. Okay, why do you want your logo to look better? I'd like it to stand out. Okay, and why would you like to stand out? Well, we're in a crowded market. Gotcha, okay, and so why is the market so crowded? Well, in the last year or two, we've noticed a ton of companies popping up that are trying to do what we do, but cheaper. Okay, and why are they cheaper? Basically, they've been cutting corners for their end products and they just don't have a long history of quality like we do. And there it is. So in a matter of seconds, you now have a much clearer understanding of why they actually want a logo design outside of it just looking better. This quick research also gives you a ton of value from a design standpoint, because now you know that logo design could lean on their long heritage, and you need to do some market research on all these new competitors that they mentioned. And finally, step number 3 is to synthesize all these findings into briefs, discovery documents, and mood boards to make sure that you're on the same page with the client and that you're solving the right problem. This not only will save you a ton of time in the long run and produce better results, but it also shows the client that you're not just a pair of hands. You're also a strategic partner that understands business. Okay, everyone, I think this last method is the most important step you can take to turn your bad clients into great clients. But before we get into it, if you've been finding this content valuable and you'd like to support the channel and help me make more videos like this, please be sure to like the video and subscribe. As a small content creator, every engagement counts and I really appreciate it. Oh, and let me know in the comments, have you ever dealt with a nightmare client? If you have, share your stories and let me know if you found any tips that helped you get the project back on track. All right, enough of that, back to the video. Okay, so like I said, I think this last method is the most important step you can take to turn bad clients into great clients. The final step is to speak your client's language and tie your decisions back to tangible business results. Sometimes it feels like designers are from Mars and clients are from Venus. Creatives want to talk about the visuals, typography, and color palettes, but clients want to talk about clicks and profits and ROI. As designers, it's our job to bridge that gap and frame everything in a way that resonates with our clients. Naturally, if you can tie your design project back to real ROI, your client's going to be a lot more excited to work with you. So with this in mind, it's so important to frame all of your conversations in terms of what's in it for them. Without understanding the ROI your design work provides, the client's basically going to be bargain shopping.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
If designer A can produce a logo for $100 in a day, and designer B takes a month and it costs $2,000, why would they go with designer B? Without context and understanding the impact on ROI, the client just sees that designer B is slower and more expensive, so that's a lose-lose. In reality, designer B's process probably takes longer and is more expensive for a number of reasons. They're probably doing things like discovery sessions where they uncover invaluable insights. They're looking at brand positioning by doing a market analysis. They're making sure that the logo is unique and original, potentially saving the client tens of thousands in legal fees and redesigns in the future. These are all things that you need to communicate to the client to let them know that you're not just a pair of hands. You're a strategic partner that's there to help them get real business results. In the business world, design work that's simply good looking is seen as subjective and usually unimpactful. Anytime you can speak the client's language and showcase real value, it builds trust. And trust means less micromanagement, less revisions, and more creative freedom. Alright everyone, as you can probably tell, I'm of the opinion that a lot of these issues that lead to clients being labeled as bad clients can be solved through strategy, clear communication, and setting expectations. Unfortunately, there are some real nightmare clients out there that do things like skip payments or ghost you mid-project. The best things you can do to avoid those cases is to get 50% of your payment up front, make sure you have a signed contract before you do any design work, and look out for red flags in your initial conversations. Generally speaking though, I think most clients are good clients at heart. We just need to earn their trust by sharing what we do, why we're doing it, and why it's valuable. Be sure to give some of these tips we covered today a shot with your next client and let me know how they work. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go out there and make a ruckus.